We jacked up the car and removed the tires. Right now we're going to remove the brake calipers so we can drop the subframe down and leave the brake lines and e-brake cable attached. So I'm going to remove these. Now you're going to want to tie this up to the shock or something that stays with the car to support it while we lower the subframe. But for now you can leave it right here resting on the A-arm. So when you lower the subframe, you can actually pull the caliper out through this area here. Okay, next we're going to remove the shocks with a 17mm bolt right here. I'm using an impact wrench. You can do it by hand, but it's obviously much easier if you use an impact. You should just be able to slip it off just like that. Okay, right now we're going to be removing the exhaust. He's removing the exhaust up there from the cat. I'm going to be taking off the hangers, which are right up here. So they just slip off. This is a custom exhaust, so it's not going to be exactly the same as stock, but it's very similar. There's two hangers, one here, one on the other side. Those two just pop right off. Then another one back here. I say from the factory you might have to take the bolt off right here, but we're going to be lazy about it. Just yank this off. And one more over here, which I'm going to have to take the bolt off. And as you can see up there, he's removing the exhaust from where it meets the cat. This exhaust bolt here and the other one for the other hanger, they're both 12. Shouldn't be too hard to take off. And after removing these, make sure everything underneath the exhaust is clear, and you have at least 2 people would be better to support the exhaust when it comes down. It's heavier than it looks.
Next thing we have to remove right now is this e-brake cable coming from the front of the car, and there's a 10mm bolt on top of the subframe. Here, it's kind of hard to see, but you have to take it off or else you're going to have trouble getting it off. And remove the second e-brake cable, again with a 10mm wrench. Same position, just on the other side.
Next we're going to be removing this bracket here. It's a 17mm, a 12, and another 12. Mine is not a 12 because I've replaced mine, but from the factory it will be a 12.
Right now what we're going to do is remove the drive shaft, and you need to remove 4 14mm nuts right here. There's one here, another one here, and 2 on the top. Have the car in gear so you can actually get leverage on it without the drive shaft turning. They're going to be pretty tight, so you're going to have to use some force to get them off. I was having trouble getting this nut off. It was a little bit tight. So what you can do is stack wrenches by putting one wrench on the nut and another larger one grabbing the tooth like this, and you get more leverage by having a longer arm to push on. Basically put it on, pull down here, and it'll take it off pretty easy. Jack under the diff to support the whole subframe. We're about to remove the last 2 nuts holding it in place onto the chassis. The last 2 nuts are back here, one here and one on the other side. They're both 17mm nuts, so remove them with the impact or a wrench. The subframe should be ready to drop. Just carefully drop it down, make sure it doesn't snag on anything. The brake calipers that we removed before, remember to pull them out of the way. Same goes for the other side. If you're doing this, dropping the subframe with the stock strut, it tends to be a lot longer than a coilover would, so you might have a little issue of this getting wedged in between here. So what you got to do before you drop the subframe is push the strut in front of this bolt, or the stud, and then drop it. Right, keep going. There's your subframe. Remember when you drop the subframe to keep the caliper supported by getting it tied up to the chassis. Right now all I did was just stick it in between the spring and the body itself.
So what we're going to actually do is put the subframe up on jack stands, so it's a lot easier to work on. So you're going to need, at least 2 to hold up the car, and then 4 for here. So right now we've already positioned the stands underneath. 2 in the front, 2 in the back to keep it down. So now the subframe is there. It's very stable. A lot easier to work on than just, having it on the floor.